Hey guys, Ryan here. The Somewhere in the Skies podcast is a labor of love every week. And with that comes many different costs to keep the show running. That's where our Patreon campaign comes in. You give what you think the show is worth. There's different rewards available all the time, including shoutouts on the show, early editions of main episodes, bonus episodes and content, and very soon, monthly patron hangouts, where we sit back and chat all things UFOs. So I hope you'll consider becoming a Patreon subscriber today. To learn more and to join, visit patreon.com/somewhereskies. Thank you for your support and keep looking up.
This is Somewhere in the Skies with Ryan Sprague.
What's up, guys? Ryan Sprague here from Somewhere in the Skies, and this is a very impromptu, very laid-back live stream I am doing tonight. I didn't even really have time to set up my studio here, my lighting. I look like a ghost. I apologize for that. I don't know if this is making anything better. That being said, this is gonna be fun. I hope you guys like what we're doing tonight. So this actually, what we're going to be talking about tonight came to my attention by a gentleman named Shane S., who is one of my Patreon subscribers. And we've been emailing back and forth a few times about UFOs. And he brought this to my attention after I recently had Dan Warren on the live stream talking about this very mysterious Chapter 13 in a United States Air Force Academy textbook in physics course, all about UFOs. So out of nowhere, to be completely honest, Shane brought to my attention that there is a chapter 13 in another book, and this had to do with fire officers. So for fire departments and whatnot, it is the Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control. And just like in this Air Force Academy textbook, this was chapter 13 in a quote unquote manual about UFOs. So I could not talk about this. I know that this has been out in the public. Many UFO researchers know about it. It's been talked about. There's been news segments on it, one of which I'm going to share with you tonight. But I thought it'd be really cool to kind of just run through the chapter. I have not been able to go over the entire chapter. Like I said, I just learned about this hours ago, and I am currently unemployed again here in New York City. We're having a very, very bad time on Broadway when it comes to the Omicron variant and COVID. So I've got some nights free, and I thought, why not do these live streams? These are always fun. So I'm going to go through this chapter with you guys, pick out some of the stuff I thought was kind of cool and interesting, and I'm just going to explore the chapter with you. So we might go line by line. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. You might be bored out of your mind, or I would love for you guys to chime in the chat. I did put, let me go ahead and do this one more time. I put a link to the chapter, a PDF that you can actually read along with me if you want. Let me see if I can send it again in the chat. Beanie, thank you so much for the kind words. Yes, it's been a tough few years for Broadway. Let me know, guys, if that link works for you. Otherwise, I should be able to just here. Okay. So John Greenwald of the Black Vault, of course, is the person I turn to when it comes with any documents pertaining to UFOs. He never lets me down. Okay. So ignore that first link. Go click on the one I just put in the chat there. That is the chapter on UFOs titled Enemy Attack and UFO Potential, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But let's say hi want to say hi to everyone for joining me. James is here. Hello, James. Hello, B. And I really appreciate you being here. Matthew Riot is here, as always, one of our biggest supporters here at Somewhere in the Sky. So thank you, Matthew. We've got Vast Twilight Podcast here. Jason Faye is here. Muskoka J is here. Hello, folks, he says. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. Take a look at the chapter. Let me know what you think. Chime in with what you think we should be looking at tonight in that. But before we do that, let's get some news out of the way. I just found this actually. So for those of you who don't know, I am a screenwriter here in New York City. I am coming out with my second feature film later this year, and it's going to be a horror movie. And I am so freaking excited about this. So about almost 10 years ago now. Wow, that makes me feel old. I wrote a play about Jack the Ripper. I was commissioned to write this play. It was not my decision to write a play about Jack the Ripper, but I got hired to write a play, and that was the only stipulation. Got to be about Jack the Ripper. And I'd never written a period piece. I'd never written, heightened language or British dialogue or anything like that. So I said, can I make it my own? And they said, yeah, absolutely. So I decided to set it in modern day New York City. Well, 90s, mid 90s New York City to be exact. And I took all the original players in the alleged Jack the Ripper murders and case, and I threw them into an apartment on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in New York City. And it's been one of my most successful plays to date. But one of our listeners here at Somewhere in the Skies, one of our supporters, he actually reached out to me and said he was a horror filmmaker. And immediately I'm like, I wonder what he would think about this. So I sent him the script to the play, and boom, it clicked. He absolutely loved it, and he said, I want to make a movie out of this. And ever since then, Dennis Kahlo, the filmmaker here in New York City, is the person who's going to be adapting and making my play, which was titled East and Red, into a horror film later this year. I'm going to be working right beside him, making this movie with him as well. And we have retitled it. It's going to be called Fiend. And I can't even begin to describe how excited I am. He's a brilliant filmmaker and just has such a natural ability to make everything, even the goriest, most bloodiest things, beautiful. So I can't wait to work with him on that. Wow, I really went on a tangent. Where was that even going? Oh, the news. The news. So this is some Hollywood news. Wow, that is a tangent. Wow, hello. Hello, who else we got here? Mark, thanks so much, buddy. Thank you so much for the super chat. I saw you on Ancient Aliens. You were amazing on the show. Great work. I really appreciate that, Mark. I've been very critical of Ancient Aliens in the past, but they finally pulled me in. And I can honestly say I've had nothing but amazing experiences with them. That's not to say I am not critical of some of the things they have brought up in the past. Some of the controversies surrounding the whole ancient alien theory when it comes to different cultures and their ingenuity and their skills and abilities being thrown onto aliens. That's besides the point. The things I'm talking about in Ancient Aliens are a lot of the modern day stuff going on with Pentagon and the government and UFOs. I know there's going to be an episode coming up about world governments and UFOs. And actually, tomorrow is a brand new episode that I'm going to be featured in, talking about something really interesting and a little outside of my wheelhouse. But yeah, we're going to be talking about sacred sites where UFOs have been spotted. And I had some stuff to say about that. So I hope you guys will check out the new episode of Ancient Aliens at, I believe, 9 p.m. 8 Central on the History Channel tomorrow. So thank you, Mark. I appreciate the super chat there, my man. I might as well put it out there, guys. I'm not working. So, hey, this is my job, being here with you guys and coming up with interesting things to talk about in the UFO world. So the super chat is open. Super stickers. If you do want to help support Somewhere in the Skies, that's a great way to do it. I will highlight your questions and your comments, and they don't even have to be about what we're talking about tonight, this chapter 13 in this fire officer's guide. Whatever you want to talk about, ask me questions about anything. We'll make this an Ask Me Anything and the other stuff we're going to be talking about. Thank you, Mark. Now to get to the news. I learned on Deadline today. Let me go ahead and just pull this up for you guys here. on Deadline, which is a website of that is like the most up-to-date current news about new projects coming out in the world of television and film. And if I can zoom in, let's see if I can do this. Sweet. This popped up. CNN. CNN's going to be doing a 5-part series, I believe, on UFOs. Let me go ahead and read this. UFOs unspools the secret history behind the American government's decades-long investigation into the existence of UAP. From the creators of the hit series Surviving Death. So there's a little hint of what this project is. This provocative 5-part series investigates what the government shared with the public versus what went on in the shadows, how citizens investigated cases and pushed back for more transparency, and what the future holds for this mystery, which is now formally under investigation by the U.S. government. UFOs premieres this summer on CNN. Okay, so maybe I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. They said the creators of Surviving Death, which was a book by Leslie Kean, which ultimately became a Netflix original series under the same title, Surviving Death, which I had Leslie to talk about on the show. If you haven't listened to that episode, please go listen to it. I had her and my good buddy, Mike Anthony, who's also a bartender here in New York City, who was a part of this series as well. He lost his father. I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago, and had a very profound life after death, what he believes experience in communicating with his father. So he was featured in Leslie Kean's documentary series. I actually put them in touch together after Mike had told me about this incident with his father, and they've become like co-investigators, and it's amazing. It's amazing how small these worlds really are. But to get back to the point, I digress. I believe this CNN series is going to be featuring Leslie Kean. We heard maybe a year or so ago that there was going to be some sort of movie or series, television series about Leslie Kean's work in bringing out the story that we all read in the New York Times in 2017, along with Ralph Blumenthal and Helene Cooper, the other authors. And I believe this project also will be featuring Lou Elizondo and possibly Christopher Mellon. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a fictionalized version or if it's a docuseries, but it does sound like this is leaning more towards a docuseries like we saw with like the J.J. Abrams thing as well. So I don't care. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what comes of it. BN, thank you so much for the super chat. When the aliens give you more of a job than the humans do, screw COVID, man. Hope things get better for Broadway. Me too, man. Besides it being like how I make a living working on Broadway, I'm a playwright and a screenwriter, and I am so unbelievably fortunate to have a job where I get to see theater every single night of the week. So I can't lie when I say it's not just about the money for me. I love my job, and I know not a lot of people in the world can say that, and I feel so fortunate, and I can't wait for it to come back. I'm getting a little choked up. Sorry. So yeah, hopefully Broadway will be back soon. So thank you, BN. Every little bit helps, and I really do appreciate that. Let's see who else we got here. John is here. Hello, John. Steven. Hello, Steven. Hello, Glenn. Awesome. Thanks again for these super chats, guys. I appreciate that. Let's move on to our next little I guess news, if you want to consider it news. It's about this little guy here. I put this on my social media, so I don't know if you guys care or not, but I was made into an action figure. I don't know. I think the action figure looks more like Chris Pine in that very cool, heroic way. I'm looking a little bit more like a ghost right now. But this is made by a gentleman named Charlie who owns Charlie's Custom Toys. You can find his link in my Instagram post that I made about the action figure. So this guy is a big fan of Somewhere in the Skies and a lot of other paranormal shows and paranormal personalities, UFO researchers. And he has gone out of his way to make these brilliant little action figures to make us all look really cool. And I had no idea. And when I got this in the mail, I almost dropped it. I was like so beyond myself. So yeah, that is the Ryan Sprague action figure. It feels so weird to say that. It's so cool. Even on the back here, he's got like, a little bio of my television shows I've done, about my book. And then he's got a couple other researchers here: Shannon LeGros of Into the Fray Radio, Jennifer Marshall, who is my co-investigative partner on Mysteries Decoded, and of course, Jason McClellan, one of my best friends, not just in the UFO world, but in life, who you're going to be seeing on Somewhere in the Skies very soon. I'll have more to share about that. But yeah, the Ryan Sprague action figure. Maybe it'll be for sale someday. I don't know, but I am going to treasure that thing for the rest of my life. So thank you to Charlie. And please go support his work. He makes custom toys of comic book characters and cartoons and people in the paranormal. So again, go to you can go to Somewhere Skies Pod on Instagram, and his link should be right in the comments there for my action figure post. Let's see what else we got here. Rad, everybody said action Sprague. I wish I was as cool as he made me out to be. And I have it in safekeeping, but he actually did a mini version of my book that the action figure can hold on to. So that was extremely nice of him as well. So yeah, very touched. Charlie, if you're watching or listening, thank you. Thank you so much, brother. That truly made a tough time in my life a lot easier to deal with, man. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hello, we got Morkavi Studios is here as always. Always appreciate that support from you, my friend. And let's move to this. So I'm just gonna play this video for you guys, and I'll come back on the other side to get your thoughts on this. I can't say much about the video just yet, and I know that's what people hate to hear. But this has been out in the public, so this isn't something I am exclusive to or anything like that. But I am going to have a guest on an upcoming episode of Somewhere in the Skies to come on and talk about this video and several other videos that he has acquired and are doing very in-depth analysis on. So yeah, let me go ahead and let me know in the chat if you've ever seen this video. I would love to know what you think. Let's see. Give me 1 sec to pull this up for you guys. So we do have a timestamp there. This is from 1991. I'm going to let it play for a little while here and get your guys' thoughts. That thing is boogieing. The sort of plasma effect around whatever this object is what really stood out to me. And obviously the very quick movements, sharp 90-degree turns and whatnot this thing is making. BN says some sort of bubble. I don't know. I can't pretend to have any idea what we are looking at here. Let's see how much longer we have. I think it starts to fade out here. Goes off into the distance and disappears. Yeah. So all I can tell you guys right now about this video is it came from Area 51. This was acquired by a UFO researcher who collected a bunch of different UFO videos back in the 90s after himself going out to the base and filming some weird stuff, very similar to what John Lear and Bob Lazar, the videos that they brought forward as well. So yeah, that video really stuck with me when the upcoming guest of Somewhere in the Sky sent it to me. And it was one of a few videos he sent. And like I said, he has a new endeavor where he and some other photo and video analysts are going to go through these old UFO videos from Area 51 and try to figure out what's going on in these. But that one really, really caught my attention. Markavi Studios says, was it S4? Because it reminded me big time of Lazar. All I can say is this was at Area 51. I don't know if this was at the alleged Site 4 that Lazar talked about, but this was seen in the vicinity of Groom Lake somewhere. We will get more information when this guest comes on the show, and that won't be too long. You're going to recognize this guest too. I can't really say why or how, but when I found out that he was a Patreon subscriber to Somewhere in the Skies and he told me who he was, I almost flipped out. I remember I actually immediately texted two of my closest friends, Andrew and Nick, who've been on the show in the past, and I showed them a photo of who this person was, and they both were like, "Oh my god, that's insane!" So yes, I'm very excited about this upcoming interview with the gentleman who brought this video to me and what they're figuring out about it. So stay tuned for that. Let's see, sport model, Morkavis. We have the same mindset on this one, man. I believe the analysis does sort of look into the sports model that Bob was talked about as well. Let's see. Nicholas says, saying that it was a researcher from and around Area 51, that now narrows it down quite a bit. Yeah, I guess you could say that, but I guarantee you, Nick, this is not someone you would expect, and not someone that well known in the UFO community. So yeah. Let's see. Image analysis team is here. I shot that footage. Holy crap. That's amazing. So we are going to have you, and we are going to have one of the members of your team on the show very soon. They reached out to me, and this video really, really tripped me out, man. Caught my attention. So I can't wait to talk to you guys and tell them about the endeavors you guys are doing over there. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. Other than that, let's go ahead, and I believe, is that it for news? Yeah, that's it for news, guys. Let's get to this. Let's get to the reason we're here to talk about this chapter. So what this is, I should say, let me go ahead and pull it up for you here. Give me one sec. It shook me as well, image analysis team says. Yeah, man. Thank you, first of all, for putting that video out. And I hope it was okay that I played that. I did a condensed version because I didn't want to give away some of the analysis you guys are doing. But yeah, I can't wait to dig into that further with you guys. So thank you. I can't believe you're in the chat. This is freaking crazy. I love it. I love it. Let's pull it up here, what we're talking about tonight. I am not a musical theater person. I've also had a couple drinks, if you haven't been able to tell. I'm drinking Sam Adams pumpkin beer for any of my Boston people out there. It's delicious. BN says, I'm honestly shook. If that's straight up Area 51 footage, thank you for releasing it. It is. It is. So yeah, I can't wait to learn more. Let's get to it, guys. The Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control. Again, I have Shane to thank for bringing this to my attention. I am not pretending I uncovered this or that it is a revelation or brand new, but it was brand new to me, and I thought it'd be cool to discuss tonight. So, I guess let's just talk a little about what this thing is. It's a guide to disaster control. So basically, this is something that would come out that the fire departments across the United States would use for preparedness for any situation that might arise when it comes to attacks or disasters. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, there was a chapter put at the end of this manual, chapter 13, about UFOs. But for any of you who weren't with me a couple weeks ago, let me go ahead and I want to play what me and Dan Warren and Luisa, I almost said Luis Elizondo, Luis Jimenez talked about. And this was this Air Force Academy chapter on UFOs in one of their textbooks. And Dan Warren, who has the fifth pillar of emphasis TikTok channel, made like this 10-part TikTok series about this chapter in the Air Force thing. So I had him come on the show and talk all about it, break it down for us. But I'm going to play the first of the TikTok videos. God, TikTok is never going to be the same, guys. Let's be honest. It's going to be a Freudian slip forever now when it comes to UFOs. Let me go ahead and play the first video of the TikTok that Dan Warren put out about the Air Force chapter and some of the resemblances it has to this chapter as well.
This may be hard to believe, but the U.S. Air Force Academy used to educate its cadets about UFOs between 1968 and 1970. And this wasn't just some professor's opinion, this was in their textbook, which was confirmed by the Deputy Director of Public Information at the Air Force Academy. The cadets that enrolled in Physics 370 were required to have a textbook titled Introductory Space Science. The very last chapter in this textbook was titled Unidentified Flying Objects. And according to the Lemoore Advance, the students were taught to stop scoffing at UFOs and instead to keep an open mind on the subject. This course was an elective that attracted about 20 students per semester. That means for the 5 semesters that this was in place, about 100 cadets were exposed to this information.
So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen the entire kind of breakdown that Dan did, if you're on TikTok, head over there and you can watch it there. Fifth Pillar of Emphasis is his handle, or go to his YouTube channel, Fifth Pillar of Emphasis as well. He's put the entire string of videos together into one cohesive video for you over there. And yeah, that was pretty interesting. A chapter on UFOs in the Air Force Academy book on physics. And we kind of dug through what we thought was interesting and whatnot. And a lot of it was stuff we knew. It was things pulled directly from Project Blue Book, or things pulled from the work of Dr. J. Allen Hynek as well. And that's kind of what this chapter is, too, that we're going to be talking about tonight. But there are some pretty cool things as well. First, I want to talk about the authors of this chapter. And that was Dr. William Kramer and Charles Chuck Baume. And I'm just going to go through briefly these guys' credentials and why they were a part of this manual. So William Kramer was a baccalaureate degree holder in industrial management and business administration, master's degree in industrial relations, and a PhD in administrative management from the University of Cincinnati. Let's see. He has edited numerous course guides for the Open Learning Fire Service program and published numerous Fire Service Journal articles. And then we have Chuck Baum. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He's the author of many fire service articles as well as books, including the Handbook of Disaster Control, predecessor to the Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control, which we're talking about tonight. He's written guides to dangerous chemicals, fire protection for chemicals. Let's see, Fire Officer's Guide to Emergency Action. The list goes on and on. These guys are highly credentialed, and they are the ones to be writing a manual like this. And they wrote Chapter 13 in this thing about UFOs. Chapter 13 in the Air Force textbook, Chapter 13 in the Fire Officer's Manual. I don't know if there's some weird connection there. Maybe it's, all these things are 12 chapters, and then they squeeze that last chapter in there of what they really want to talk about, which seems to be UFOs. I don't know. But I thought that was pretty interesting that in both books, they were Chapter 13. It's got the number 13 is such a mysterious atmosphere to it anyway. So yeah. Let's see here. Morkavi Studios says. BN says, what I'm curious about is how did these guys get enough clearance to factually say what they say, and how did it make it to print? That's the question, BN. Why are these things in there? And why is the biggest question. And a lot of the chapter, I will admit, is things pulled directly, quotes from UFO researchers or things from Project Blue Book or things like that, which we're going to kind of run through. So a lot of it was a lot of copy and paste, to be honest. But again, this is a book that's made for firefighters, for emergency workers, for things like FEMA, to prepare for literally any situation. So that's kind of their reasoning from what I've been told and what we'll hear from Bill Kramer, one of the writers, about why this is here. We have to prepare for any situation. And I think it was the same with the Air Force Academy as well. Like, What if this could happen? We're not saying it's real. We're not saying that it's extraterrestrial, but what if it happened? How would we deal with it? And we need to know that. So yeah, I think that's kind of the why. But when we get deeper into the chapter, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. It's very curious no matter what. I would have to agree. I would definitely have to agree on that. Nick says it's fairly well known within the fire police law enforcement circles. I can only say that roughly half a dozen firefighters have discussed this chapter with me over the years. So again, like, this isn't just some make-believe thing. Like, this was real. This was in textbooks, and you can buy this book, this manual. You can buy it on Amazon. I don't have a link for it, but if you put the title in, you can definitely it's out there. You can obtain this thing. So what I think we'll do, guys, is I'm just gonna run through some of this and see what you guys find most appealing. Here's like the breakdown of chapter 13. As you'll see, it's been called enemy attack and UFO potential. What is war? Causes of war, effects of nuclear attacks, and then we get down to UFO threat, a fact. Adverse potential of UFOs, which is really interesting, and UFOs and emergency action. So let's just let's see. UFO threat, a fact. So I mean, that's pretty interesting right there. UFO threat, a fact. I don't know if a lot of people would agree with that UFOs are a threat. That seems to be what we're hearing a lot nowadays, that it could be a potential threat. So we need to look into it. That's good. We should be looking into it. It could be a potential threat. We don't know because we do not know what we're dealing with, and neither does our military. So, yeah, if we're talking about emergency workers or firefighters or anyone in that realm of safety and protection, I guess, this could be a threat. In this chapter, we'll turn our attention to the very real threat posed by unidentified flying objects, whether they exist or not. They talk about the Orson Welles show and kind of the panic that was caused by that, which has been drastically, I believe, overstated and exaggerated. But people freaked out, and I'm sure there were people who thought it was real, and apparently there were some deaths involved. I don't know if that's part of the exaggeration or not. But let's see what else we have here in the first part. Throughout this book, many of the references to actual events are based on the experiences of both of the authors. However, in the area of UFOs and their potential, we are relying largely on the research and experiences of Charles Baum. Chuck has made a considerable study of these of this subject and is acquiring many publications and VCR tapes. Wow, that's a throwback. This book is from 1992. I forgot to mention that, guys. To augment his library on this and related phenomena. So what it's sounding like to me is one of the authors of this book, who happened to also do a lot of work in fire safety and putting these books together, was a UFO guy. And hey, can't fault him for that. I'm a UFO guy. You're a UFO guy, UFO woman, UFO person. And if they could slip a chapter into one of their books about UFOs, I'm sure that was, a gold star on the old board there for them. So maybe that's why. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat before I move on. Let's see. Nick says, Ryan, as you know, my father was lieutenant in the Milwaukee Fire Department with 31 years of service. Wow, Nick, that's incredible. Wow, thank you. Thank you for his service. His closest friend on the job was a deputy chief. He spoke with me at length and referred to Hynek by name. That's pretty freaking cool. That is cool. Vast Twilight says, coming from an EMS background, I think the first section is legit, meaning that it discusses invasion and what to do in that scenario, foreign power invasion and what to do. Yeah, that's very true. Again, this book is about what to do in any situation, whether it's a foreign adversary attacking us here in the United States or something we just can't simply explain, which UFOs are one of. And they're not saying they're alien. They're saying these are unidentified phenomena that could cause a disaster, and we need to be ready to deal with it and help people. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing. That's a good way to put it, Vast Night. let's see. You said also number 2, the UFO part is a training think outside the box scenario to prepare for things outside of the norm. But in hindsight, it seems to be pretty fortuitous. Yes. I think that this chapter was probably put in this book and also in the Air Force Academy book for cadets and for firefighters and EMTs and everyone to think outside of what they normally would. Because the minute you become complacent and routine is when, that part of the brain stops working of what to do in a situation you have not seen before. And I know police officers and EMT workers and firefighters, like, they have to be ready for something that they don't quite expect. And that's why those jobs are extremely dangerous. I'm sure they see the same things day in and day out in some ways, but there's going to come a time where something really throws them for a loop, and a UFO invasion or even just a close encounter, which many firefighters and police officers and EMTs have had, what to do. And we're going to get to that as well. The physiological effects, which was in here too, which is really interesting. Let's see. Steven says, what do you say here? Saying very real threat and exist are not the same in the same sentence. I get that. I do. Let's see. Important thing to note is that in excuse me. I've been told I say that word wrong all the time, and I know I do. Subsequent editions, the UFO chapter remains. Interesting. That's very interesting. Greetings from Poland. What do you think about Elizondo's statement? This topic looks very serious. It is very serious. Thank you for joining us all the way from Poland. I appreciate you being here. I'm not sure what topic you're referring to, if it's UFOs in general. All I'm going to say is when it comes to Elizondo, stay tuned to Somewhere in the Skies in the next few weeks. That's all I'm going to say. Morkavi Studio says, hey, bringing it up, but think of 9/11. They weren't prepared, but darn, did they step up. I could understand preparing for anything. Yeah, it's true. Let's move back to the chapter here. See. And forgive me for just scrolling, guys. I'm exploring this like you. I can admit I have not been able to read everything. But let's see here. Background information. With no intention of trying to prove or disprove the authenticity of numerous UFO encounters related by credible witnesses, including airline and military pilots, astronauts, police officers, firefighters, members of Congress, and even U.S. presidents, or a U.S. president, at the time that this was written. The balance of this chapter will be to present a brief history and nature of UFOs and their alleged occupants. Really interesting that we're kind of starting with the history of ufology when it comes to this. What are UFOs? William Shakespeare put a fitting observation in the mouth of Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, that went like this. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamed in your philosophy. And scene. That's my Broadway coming out. Whether Hamlet was referring to those strange lights or objects that appear in the sky or near the ground and have no known cause, we will never know. But the World Book Encyclopedia defines such things as UFOs. So we're getting like a crash course in UFOs in the first few things here. They have the classification system that Dr. J. Allen Hynek came up with. Let's see. Nocturnal lights, daylight discs, close encounters, radar readings. And so that's pretty cool. Shapes of UFOs. All different types of UFOs have been reported. Flying saucers, glowing tubes, semi-spherical apertures, reddish-orange glows, or fire-like or sparking discharges, which would definitely be of interest to firefighters for sure, and how to deal with that. Just imagine them like with a hose spraying a UFO. I'm sure it's happened. I'm definitely sure it's happened. Let's see here. Nick said Deputy Chief was, let's see, a UFO guy, but I know that he made a point of hammering this chapter into the heads of cadets at the Fire Academy when he taught courses. Wow. That's interesting, Nick. He really wanted people to talk about this. Let's see. Image Analysis says, Luis and yourself are two of the main heroes of ufology these days. Keep up the good work. That's beyond flattering. And while I don't agree with you, I appreciate the sentiment. Everything I've learned comes from my incredible mentor, Peter Robbins, and Lee Spiegel, and all the big names out there who I'm simply resting on their shoulders at this point. But that's extremely kind of you. So thank you. Thank you. Ooh, can we see the appendix? Yes, I will definitely get to the appendix of this. They give a really cool list of books to read about UFOs and stuff like that. So I will definitely try to touch on that with you guys. Give me one moment here. I am readjusting some of my stuff in the studio. Been having some issues with my my charging platforms. Is everything charging? Okay, cool. All right, we're good. Welcome to a live stream, guys. Welcome, welcome. Let's get back to the chapter. So they go into the history of UFOs. What was interesting, not so much I guess a comparison, but not a connection. This Air Force Academy thing, when they went into the history of UFOs, they went back to the ancient times in terms of like why some alien race would come to Earth and seed our planet and the evolution of humans through that. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy story in that chapter. Here we have it starting with what a lot of us know as the modern UFO era, and that started around World War II with the Foo Fighters. Where there's foo, there's fire. Nice little pun there in this fire officer's handbook. In the middle of the 1900s, flying saucers were increasingly observed in the United States and other countries. They talk about the University of Colorado were hired by the Air Force from 66 to 68 to study this type of aerial phenomena. Most could be explained as stars, Venus, meteors, planets, balloons, rockets, blah, 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 some atmospheric conditions, optical illusions, all the same debunking crap that Blue Book and the Condon Committee went through. After investigating more than 12,000 reports, the U.S. Air Force was unable to explain where the unexplained UFOs came from, but apparently concluded that the national security was not threatened by them. That's what we were told, but now we have sort of a turnabout face with the Navy and the Pentagon saying they could be a threat to national security, especially in an age of drones. So we got to figure it out. We got to shed the stigma. We need these things reported because it could be a potential threat. Let's see. A lot of talking about UFO organizations. Let's see. This is 92. So yeah, we got a lot of the good players: NICAP, MUFON, Cause, Ground Saucer Watch. That's one I haven't heard in a while. QFOS, which was the organization run and started by J. Allen Hynek, and APRO, the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization. Why the secrecy, they say? Well, I'm sure we can deduce that if we don't know what it is, we don't want to panic the public and say we don't know what it is. So what we do find out, we need to keep close to the chest until we can fully understand this stuff. They talk about Donald Kehoe, his work, and how he was trying to unravel the truth embargo on UFOs when it comes to the Air Force and the Pentagon. So a lot of this is the history of UFOs, which is cool, but it's not really anything we haven't heard before. Wasn't really expecting that. This is an interesting part of it that we'll get to, but let's see what you guys are saying. Some of the excerpts from this are insane. BN, let us know what you found insane about it, please. For sure. Tommy is here. Hey, Ryan, can you show us the picture behind you? Your left shoulder looks like a blue UFO. The blue UFO. Tommy, let me take this off. Is it this one that I'm pointing to right now? Let me know if that's the one you're referring to. And I'll definitely put it up to the camera. Scary stuff. Nothing completely new, but still interesting. Yeah, so let's get back to the chapter. UFO missions. I found this really interesting. Many reasons have been advanced for the purpose of the UFO's visits to our planet. Although some of the persons who apparently have been subject of genetic investigation, such as the family of Whitley Strieber, This chapter is talking about communion and Whitley Strieber. I found this both hilarious and very interesting. Talking about Mr. Strieber's abductions. What else? He talks about incident at Exeter, the John Fuller book. Wow, really, really interesting stuff. Into the history of ufology. Again, like, is this to really throw off those reading it and have them really open their minds that some of this could be true? Who's to say it's not? We have yet to definitively prove a lot of UFOs and a lot of claims by abductees. We were not there when it happened. We can't definitively say it did not happen. And I've been guilty of calling people liars or fantasy prone, but I tend to think that the older I get, the more skeptical I become, but the more respectful I am as well, that I was not there when these things happened. So really interesting that a lot of this is in this chapter. Adverse potential of UFOs. Now, this is where I think the meat of why this chapter is in here is here. And that is what harm these UFOs could cause. Not an invasion so much, but even just a close encounter. So let's talk about that in just a minute here. Ooh, our friend from Poland says, I saw a triangle UFO once, UFO fleet 3 times. Wow. It's hard to explain. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Or madam, I do apologize. I got to stop using gender identifiers. I know that a lot of you are anonymous on here as well. Can you underline the what the Fness? Whew, almost got me there. Of this chapter in such a manual. The guy who wrote this must have been seriously switched on to UFOs. That's what I'm gathering. I believe that one or both of these guys were really interested in UFOs, and that's why we're seeing it. Very, very, very interesting. Sometimes I call my mom, man. Yeah, I got to use that term for everyone. Let's see here. Adverse potential of UFOs. This is where I kind of want to read verbatim some of this stuff, guys. So do forgive me, but again, I'm just exploring this like you guys are in real time. Regardless of its past evaluations, the Air Force could be wrong about a number of things. It can't even guess within a couple of $1 billion what one of its planes is going to cost. Maybe despite the skepticism of the scientists and other investigators, the UFOs sent from other planets do exist and have visited Earth. Not exactly sure where that quote comes from. But they start to talk about some of the effects are as follows of these UFOs. 2 principal hazard noted within relation to UFOs have been attributed to powerful electrical fields, which they can project in a general or localized area, and the psychological effects they have produced on the general populace or individual. Force field impact. The disruption of air and ground travel has often been reported in the presence of UFOs. Ignition systems of auto and aircraft engines have apparently been affected by energized force fields to such an extent as to stop their operation. I'm going to stop right there for a moment. I do want to mention we're actually going to be having Kevin Randall on the show in the coming weeks to talk about his new book about the Leveland, Texas UFOs. And the whole book is about how these UFOs affected engines and planes and in cars and had effects on the witnesses as well. So yeah, this is really interesting that this is in here. We're going to be talking to Kevin soon about that. Let's see. Sorry, I meant the big one, the artwork of Somewhere in the Skies. Oh, Tommy, yes. That is a custom piece of art by Nick Shev. He was part of our fan art contest where I have like over 50 submissions of fan art of Somewhere in the Skies that my merchandise company put on, and he was the winner. So you can get this lovely guy on a poster, a t-shirt, a magnet. It's all in the Somewhere in the Sky store. And I think the links are down in the show notes there if you're interested. Yeah, that was the winner of our fan art contest, and I love it. So thank you to Nick if he's watching. Let's see here. I'd argue, Ryan, regardless of gender, dude is an acceptable identifier. It is, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. But I appreciate it, Nick, for sure, my man. My person. See what I did there? Gosh. I'm so dumb sometimes. Let's see what else we have here. Ooh, they go into a case in 78 from Buenos Aires. A strange force shut off their engine and headlights of the Citroen CG, lifted it 15 feet off the road, then set it down a minute later at 75 miles to the north. The driver noticed yellow and violet light shining in his rearview mirror while driving the last leg of a long stock car race, and he realized that it was approaching too fast to be a competitor. A month later, a Colombian bank manager and a Navy officer had their car headlights go off when buzzed by a UFO. Really, really interesting. Ooh, they talk about the case in Mexico City where the Piper plane was literally surrounded by 3 flying saucers. I actually covered that case in an episode of Case Files. So if you guys are not subscribed to the YouTube channel that you're watching right now, please subscribe. Please click the like button. Please share this video. But I do a series called Case Files where I go through a UFO case in like less than 5 to 8 minutes and give you the rundown about it, and so you can move on with your day. And I did cover that case with Carlos de los Santos, I believe was the gentleman's name, where 3 UFOs surrounded his plane, hit it, and then sent his plane into a spiral. He almost died and was saved by the UFOs. I'm not kidding you. So yeah, that's really interesting that they bring this case up in this chapter. And then the other big one they talk about is communication disruption. Radio transmissions, whether it's with pilots in these UFOs trying to communicate with them, seems close to impossible. So they cannot communicate with the UFO. They cannot identify the thing in front of them. So it could be a threat, and that's extremely dangerous. So yeah, I'm happy they brought that up as well. Regional power blackouts. Yeah, of course, EMTs, FEMA, fire departments are going to be called in when there are blackouts. There's going to be emergencies happening all over the place. You've got like the famous blackout in New York City, I know. Oh, they mention it right here, actually. Blacked out all of New York, where UFOs had been seen during that blackout, the famous blackout. So yeah, of course, these are things that firefighters need to be prepared for, that the blackout could have been caused by UFOs. So it's one of many explanations. Yeah, so let's see what else. Love it. Tommy says, thanks, man. The last funny thing is I saw a fleet. Oh, he's talking about his UFO sightings. I'm going to have to look at these later, my man. We're going to move on with the chapter. Hey, love that poster. Thank you, Teddy. I appreciate it. I'm going to put this up. Vass says, third thing, in fire department EMS, we have what's called duty to act. If you are on duty, you must help those in medical need if you come across them. Maybe this drives home that it includes everyone, even aliens. Yeah, I've heard that. And, you know, you've got this idea too of like, if a doctor's in a house, they need to, or anywhere, they need to help someone if they're in trouble. Or citizens even. Like you could be arrested for not helping someone that's in trouble. You can literally be arrested for that. I don't know how often it's actually used, but yeah, I could understand that when it comes to EMTs. If they have the power and ability to help someone in a situation, no matter how weird the situation is, it could even be a threat to that firefighter or EMT themselves. They need to help. So why not be prepared for everything, even aliens? Let's see. Nick says, Ryan, you know how long I've been in the field. To have my father's friend, a respected MFD deputy chief, cite the Cash Landrum case and Bentwaters case specifically threw me for a loop. I'm sure, man. I am sure. Talk about physiological effects. Man, those are 2 prime examples, which I'm sure are somewhere in this chapter, about people being physically affected by UFOs. With the Cash Landrum incident, everyone involved suffered radiation burns. I believe 1 or 2 of them died because of it. And that's a crazy case. And they tried to sue the Air Force because they believed that whatever they saw was an Air Force project. And the Air Force said, nope, wasn't ours. We're not taking responsibility. We're not giving you any money to get help or anything. Really sad. Really, really sad case. Then you have the Bentwaters case where one of the witnesses who touched the craft that landed in the forest in 1980, the Rendlesham Forest case, if for those of you who want to look into it, he touched this UFO and had really weird physical effects that caused heart failure in him many, many years later. And he went to Veteran Affairs and said, I need surgery or I'm going to die. I believe this was caused by radiation or something that I had happened to me back when I saw a UFO. And Veteran Affairs was like, no, we're not going to help you with that. No. They sealed his records. He couldn't even get his medical records when they found out that this dude was at Bentwaters and part of this event. And he had to fight for years to get his records unsealed and to get medical assistance from the VA to literally save his life. And I believe even John McCain got involved and helped fight for this dude. And his name is John Burroughs. He was part of the now famous Rendlesham Forest incident. And he got the help he needed. He got surgery, saved his life. And it's the first time, I believe, documented that the Veteran Affairs said, we helped this guy because of a UFO event that happened to him in 1980. So crazy. But it's also more telling of why this chapter is here and the effects that a UFO could have on people. Let's see. What else we got here? Don't forget those likes, people. Yes, please like the video, share it if you have not, subscribe, and super chat and super stickers are open for any new people watching. If you want to help support Summer in the Skies, that is a great way to do it. I'll throw your comments up, I'll throw your questions up and try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. It can be about what we're talking about tonight or anything you want. I am yours. I'm here for you guys and to go through this chapter too, which I found very fascinating. Where were we with the chapter? Let's see. Ooh, I didn't even see this. Fireballs over Syracuse. Come on. I'm from Syracuse, New York. I didn't see this part before I got here, guys. This is pretty cool. Airplane pilots reported that UFOs are being chased across Pennsylvania. Electronics and construction engineers who were driving in the area of Syracuse. Woo woo. Cuse in the house. Airport saw UFOs moving about 5:30 p.m. Just prior to the Great Blackout. A veteran flight instructor who had been flying over Syracuse on a training flight saw a glowing globe over the power lines leading to Niagara Falls generating plant. Hundreds of others saw the glowing object in the sky on the night of the big power failure. Dang, that's so cool. I think I knew about that case, but I haven't really looked into it. But that leads me to something. I don't know if they really talk about it in here, but we'll talk about it right now. Is they mentioned power plants. That's a big thing in the UFO field right now too. Is UFOs and nukes. UFOs have been witnessed and cited over nuclear installations for decades. Hundreds of cases of these things. We had Robert Salas on the show maybe a month or so ago, which originally aired on Peter Robbins' show, Meanwhile Here on Earth, where we talked to Robert Salas about being a nuclear, literally like the head of a nuclear base underground where nuclear missiles were being housed. And it was his job to push that button if push came to shove and we had to do it. And he and several others had a very dramatic UFO sighting over their base. This is Maelstrom Air Force Base. And I don't know how else to say it. The missiles were affected by the UFOs. Shut them down, which is insane. And there are hundreds of cases of this happening. Robert and many others went in front of the National Press Club several times now to talk about this. And within weeks of them doing this event in Washington, we got this new Pentagon UAP group that's going to be starting up this year. So, yeah, interesting times we're living in for sure. And all that more reflective with this chapter we're talking about tonight as well. So, yeah, I just want to touch on that a little. Let's see. I am so sorry I can't pronounce your name. I'm so sorry, but I'm putting it up here. Ryan, do you believe disclosure will happen? Personally, if this will be truth, I'm not convinced this is a good idea. I think disclosure has already happened. I mean, we've had the U.S. government say UFOs exist. That's all I ever wanted. They haven't said what they are because I don't think they know what they are. So I think for every person who's seen a UFO or had some sort of experience, that's disclosure for them. And I saw a UFO. That was disclosure for me. So I think we need to move past this idea of striving for disclosure from the U.S. government. We believe they have been lying to us for many years. So why are we going to believe anything they say? Now, that's not to say I don't. This is so tough. It's not that I don't trust that the government doesn't want the best for their people. I believe they do. And maybe some of the lies they have told were to protect us. I don't know. I honestly can't say. And that's a very, slippery slope to go down in terms of that. So whether you believe the government is lying to us about UFOs or not, whether you believe they know everything or don't know anything, has yet to be determined. I personally don't think they know a lot. And while they tried to deny a lot of it back during the Blue Book days, I think they made a mature decision and are now looking at it in a different lens and saying, hey, we don't know a lot of what's going on and we should probably look into it. And we don't have the capabilities to really understand it. So we should probably figure that out with our leading scientists and whatnot. So hopefully that's the direction they're going in, and not in this is just another way to control the narrative and stamp it down and be another Project Blue Book. I don't know. Only time will tell. But I will say don't waste your time on disclosure. Because it's already here, and it's never going to come in the form I think a lot of people think, where White House lawn scenario where the president of the United States says UFOs exist because the world's a hell of a lot bigger than the United States, and it's going to take a lot more world leaders to confirm that and agree with that and see how the world should move on from that moment on. So I don't know. There's so many hypotheticals when it comes to all that, and I change my mind every day, to be honest. Let's see. Greetings. Hello, Robert. Welcome, everyone. If you're just joining us, we are talking about the Fire Officer's Manual and their mysterious Chapter 13 on UFOs. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I have a brief video about a new segment that covered this chapter. And I'd like to see what they have to say about it. Vass says, hell of a warning on page 469. Good advice, methinks. Vass, tell us what you're talking about, man, so we can expedite and get to what that is. But go ahead and watch this video first, guys, about this chapter and what they said back in 92.
Sightings like the Phoenix Lights have generated questions and made believers out of skeptics. And this 600-page guide may lend credibility to UFOs. It's the Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control and said to be found in firehouses across the U.S. The book covers everything from fires to floods, but it's Chapter 13 that takes an unusual twist in firefighting techniques titled Enemy Attack and UFO Potential.
It would not be remiss to give some thought to the part that fire departments might play in the event of the unexpected arrival of UFOs in their communities.
The book, written by 2 retired firefighters, addresses what first responders could encounter.
You may have engine trouble upon approaching the scene, and radio contact could be lost with your dispatcher. If at night your headlight could go out, the city could be blacked out, and your portable generators may malfunction.
No, this took me by surprise.
Believers like Jim Mann see the book as an opportunity.
This is a real phenomena that we should deal with. We should deal with seriously.
So, is it for training purposes, or is it enough to warrant a UFO education red alert?
This is something that could really happen in our lifetime.
It even asks, how do you treat injured aliens? Are first responders aware of the potential physical injuries?
Some fire chiefs have little confidence in disaster plans, especially those dealing with UFOs or enemy attack.
We contacted several fire agencies regarding this book, and some even called us. However, not one admitted to using it for training, although some are aware it exists.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? It just shows you that serious professional people are starting to take this whole subject of UFOs and ETs. They're starting to take this seriously.
Jim Mann investigates sightings and encounters for the mutual UFO network known as MUFON.
This is a real threat to this planet.
MUFON has its own investigative guide seen here publicly for the first time.
And I don't think we're crackpots. I think that we're just people that want to be aware of what's going on. We don't know where we came from. We don't know where we're going.
And one of the authors of this book says many people miss the point regarding that chapter in UFOs, saying previously, quote, whether they exist or not is not the issue. It's the perceived existence which creates the potential for panic, injury, and even death. Reporting live, Christopher Sun, ABC 15 News, your Valley.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Within the limited time I had to kind of throw together this episode tonight, I was able to find that news segment talking about helping injured aliens. That didn't even dawn on me. Like, yeah, if a UFO crashes, we need to help those beings as well. We have just as much of a responsibility to do that as if humans got injured. Um, God, that didn't even cross my mind. So yeah, just imagine if we had EMTs on site when the Roswell UFO crash happened. Did they help the aliens? I don't know. I don't know. That's a mystery yet to be fully decoded. That's a Mysteries Decoded reference for any of you out there. New season coming in the summer, I think. Um, Anyways, I thought it was cool that they quoted one of the authors of this chapter. And I did want to expand on that, the quote that he was talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and read Bill Kramer, one of the authors. These are direct quotes from him about the chapter. Let's see here. It is no laughing matter. Many people miss the point of the chapter about UFOs. Whether they exist or not is not the issue. It's the perceived existence which creates the potential for panic, injury, and even death. I know they said that in the news segment, but he does expand. He says here, I use the term UFO literally to refer to any unidentified flying object, not just to mean an alien spaceship, as the term is usually associated. Unidentified simply means nobody knows what it is, but it still scares the hell out of people. There have been a number of incidents over the years that have induced panic, going back to the famous Orson Welles radio presentation of War of the Worlds in 1938, when some listeners feared that there was a real Martian or misidentified German attack underway and reportedly fled the region or took up arms. More recent incidents include a perceived religious sighting in New York that caused traffic problems. Yeah, so that comes straight from the author of this chapter. A lot of this has to do with what we are actually going to talk about next, and that is the panic hazard, just like he said. What happened with War of the Worlds? We don't not want another scenario where if this happens, and if we do learn that UFOs have landed and they're from another planet, or we don't know where they're from, that people aren't freaking out and grabbing arms and going out and shooting at the UFOs or shooting at each other. We all have those scenarios in our head of how we would react in situations like an alien invasion or zombies or anything, even a real world terrorist attack. A lot of us don't know what we would do in those situations until we're in them. So that's what this is about. What if aliens were here? What if a UFO did land? What if 20 UFOs landed? One in every country around the world, like arrival style. Like, what would we do? And those are the questions being posed in this chapter. So yeah, it's pretty cool to hear the author say this wasn't like a practical joke or it's not worth snickering at. Like, we need you guys to be prepared if this happens. That's it. Point. Simple. Point game match. Done. UFOs could be a threat. Let's see what else here. Oh wow, yeah. Markovy Studio says germs, bacteria, anything could all play a role too. I mean, what if these were alien and they came here and they landed and the aliens got out and immediately whatever their biological makeup is so dangerous or infectious to us here on Earth that it causes a pandemic. I don't know, but those are things that could happen. So again, we gotta figure out how to deal with that. So that's such a good point. Such a good point. Ethereal Aura, welcome to the show. War of the Worlds weren't a lot of people freaked out. They did flood the phone lines, but that wasn't that hard in those days. Very true. Very true. Let's see here. Looks like we got a couple bots in the chat, so I'm just cleaning those out quick. I need to get a moderator in here. Reach out to me if you guys want to be moderators for Somewhere in the Skies. I would love it. An alien with a cold could wipe out the planet if the strain is unresisted. Very true, BN. Very, very true. Let's see what else we have here, guys. And who was it in the chat? Vast Twilight Podcast said page 16. There's some good stuff. So let me get down there. Let's see. Emergency action. Let's go ahead and read this here from the chapter. In view of the fact that many ufologists believe that we are fast approaching a time when overt landings of UFOs will become less remarkable, and in the absence of our knowing whether their visits are friendly or hostile, it would not be remiss to give some thought to the part that fire departments might play in the event of the unexpected arrival of UFOs in their communities. For example, what would be your course of action as an incident commander at the scene of a school ground where a UFO has crashed into a boiler room, rupturing a fuel line, and igniting has occurred and spilling oil, endangering the occupants of the craft who are trapped in the wreckage? What a scenario. That's wow. I feel like I'm reading a screenplay. Endangering the occupants. If your rescue attempts are successful and 2 of the 5 small alien creatures are injured but still alive, how do you dispose of the dead and treat the survivals? How would the presence of children on the school grounds affect your actions? What persons and agencies would be notified? That's, gosh, I mean, I don't know, but hell, to be in that situation, I can't even imagine. So good. I'm glad these questions are being posed. So if it happens, they will know how to deal with it. Let me see. Have to rewatch the first hour. Ethereal, yeah, go ahead, go back and watch. We're talking about the chapter here in the fire officer's manual. It's really interesting. Let's see. Oh, they even quote Frank Edwards, his book on flying saucers, for warning. Quote, near approaches of UFOs can be harmful to human beings. Do not stand under a UFO. Do not. That is hovering at low altitude. Do not touch or attempt to touch. Do not touch or attempt to touch a UFO that has landed. In either case, the safe thing to do is to get away from it very quickly and let the military take over. There is a possibility of radiation danger, and there are known cases where persons have been burned by rays emanating from UFOs. Don't take chances with UFOs. I love that. In the view of federal law empowering NASA's administrator to impound without a hearing anyone who touches UFO or its occupants, it would be inadvisable to make personal contact unless you are willing to submit to NASA's quarantine requirements, should the law be invoked. Crazy. They go into Jacques Vallée talking about a lot of different things. From his book Invisible College, cautions that we should consider psychic effects such as space-time distortion experienced by percipients of craft-like devices which appear to fade away, dematerialize, and then reappear, of alien strange voices or thoughts that may affect involuntary changes in the manner in which witnesses may react in such circumstances. Oof. Wow. It looks like we're kind of getting to the end of the chapter here, guys. There's so much I did not talk about that I highly suggest you read for yourselves. But let's see. Let me go to the chat here, see what you guys are saying. This morning is so good. Nicholas says, the reference to school children brings to mind the South African case. Yes, the Rua Zimbabwe case that John Mack investigated. He actually flew all the way to Zimbabwe, days, I want to say, after that event happened in the schoolyard, and interviewed the children, the witnesses of that. And it was crazy, where a UFO landed and like 60 school children watched as some sort of being or beings came out of this craft, kind of walked around for a little bit, got close up to the children and telepathically communicated with them. And like, this all sounds like science fiction, but it's so well documented. And so many of those child witnesses now as adults stick to the story. 2 of which I've spoken to personally and have interviewed on Somewhere in the Skies about the event and how it affected their lives. I did recently put one of my lectures on Patreon. So if you're a member of our Patreon campaign, you can watch my lecture about the human effects of UFO events and how they affect people on every level. And I did interview one of the witnesses about how her life was affected dramatically by the Rua Zimbabwe UFO case and how it changed her life. So yeah, you can go find that on our Patreon right now, patreon.com/somewhere skies. Oh, I should mention while we're on Patreon, today I released a special episode on the main feed of Somewhere in the Skies, the podcast, and on right here on the YouTube channel, 4 bonus episodes that are over on our Patreon. It gives you a little taste and example of the bonus episodes that I release for Patreon subscribers. You also get early editions of the main episodes. You get one-on-one chats with me, and a lot of other extra content. So I wanted to give everyone who's not a member a taste of what you can expect at the Patreon campaign. So right now you can go listen to 4 of our bonus episodes from Patreon, right on the main feed of Somewhere in the Sky. So yeah, I hope you will check that out. Another shameless plug. What is everyone saying? Nicholas says the Australian case too. Yes. Yeah, so many weird schoolyard sightings that have happened and landings. So yeah, we need to bring in whatever's going to contain the situation, whether it's fire, EMT, police officers, military, to figure out what the hell is going on. Because there have been way too many school UFO landings for my taste. Let's see. Tommy says this UFO chapter has more detail than the rest of the disaster control chapters put together. The detail they go into is unbelievable, Ryan. I know, Tommy. Again, I don't know if it's the passion of the writers to really get their UFO knowledge out there and flex it and get it published somehow. And it's through one of these manuals. But I do understand why it's here and why it remained in the book, because it is a scenario that we have to be ready for. And I did mention this on the Air Force Academy episode with Dan Warren and Luis Jimenez that there's a contingency plan for everything. Literally everything. We did mention zombies. There are plans set up if there is a UFO invasion, if there is a zombie-like infection going on around the world or whatnot, or literally the dead coming back to exact revenge or eat our brains. There are so many things set in place for stuff like this. So while the chapter doesn't surprise me, it does surprise me in terms of the content and how descriptive and hypothetical it is. And what do they know? And why is it truly here? We may never know. Let me go once again up into the chat. So what I think I'm going to do, guys, is start wrapping things up. We've covered enough. I highly suggest you go read the chapter. Once again, I will put the link for it in the show notes. But let's go to the conclusions that the chapter drew. I think that would be pretty cool. They do have that here to kind of wrap things up. Conclusion. Some fire chiefs have little confidence in disaster plans, especially those dealing with UFOs or enemy attack. If you develop a plan that sets forth your responsibilities, resources, organizations, supplies information, telephone numbers, and special data that will be useful in obtaining help and fulfilling your role in disaster control, commit it to an electronic medium, a computer with a capability for continuous updating through modern word processing. Remember, this is written in 1992. Bring it forth when the need requires. With a good plan, good leadership, and adequate resources, you may save many lives in any disaster, including attack from possible enemies or UFOs. So yeah, again, like this entire manual is made for preparedness in any situation. So I think it's so cool that once again, chapter 13 in another official book, manual, textbook, is about UFOs. And I thought it was so cool that this came to my attention literally within weeks of Dan Warren putting out this Air Force Academy thing, which is so cool. I'm sure there are so many other books and flyers and pamphlets that military branches have put out throughout the years. I know Isaac Coy, the UFO researcher, has highlighted some of those. Kirk Collins as well in their work. So I'm going to seek those out and see what else is out there on UFOs. But I thought this is really cool. I was really happy to have Nick and other people in the chat talking about their experiences with this kind of stuff. Hello, Cosmic Kev. Welcome to the show. We're just wrapping things up, but take a look back at what we've been talking about tonight. It was a lot of fun. Let's see. BN says, basically saying some people refuse to take this serious, so here's who to call. Yeah. And again, like, this was the whole issue with the stigma attached to reporting UFOs in the military. And it's been that way for many years. And that is changing. The Pentagon, the UAP task force, the Department of Defense is saying, report these things. We need to shed the ridicule in reporting UFOs. We're not going to put you on desk duty. We're not going to make fun of you. These could be a potential threat to national security, and we need to know about them. Please report them. So I think it's the same with something like this. Like, it's funny to think, oh, little green men and flying saucers and this and that. But at the end of the day, like, this could happen. And even if it's not aliens, if we don't know who it is or why it's happening, it could be a big problem. And it could be a threat. And our people here to protect us and to help us and save us, they need to know how to deal with it. So I think it's pretty cool that this chapter is out there. You could buy the textbook, like I said. Still, just type the title into Amazon. It should pop up. But if there is nothing else, guys, you can ask me some questions here as we wrap things up. I'm going to just leave it at that. Check it out. Check out the chapter. Let me know what you think in the comments after this live stream. Comments will be open. I'd love to hear what you think, what you found most interesting about the chapter, and maybe we'll have to have a follow-up. Maybe we will find some firefighters or people who actually did come across this chapter, and I would love to hear their thoughts on what they thought about it. So yeah, someone in the chat also mentioned the references in this appendix here. It is an incredible resource of things to do with UFOs and chemical warfare, nuclear weapons, just a litany of different things. So it's obvious that the writers of the chapter did their homework. It's very clear on that. So again, I'm seeing the word UFO and Blue Book pop up everywhere in here. So cool. Oh, Stanton Friedman's name, Cosmic Watergate. Rest in peace, my friend. Rest in peace. I'm going to be replaying my episode number 50 of Somewhere in the Skies in a few months on the anniversary of Stanton Friedman's death. I'm going to do a replay of my interview with him, an interview that just changed my life. And I was so honored to have and so nervous to conduct. So yeah, if you haven't heard that episode, you'll get to hear it again in a couple months on Somewhere in the Skies. I'm going to replay it for you guys with some commentary. Let's see here. Oh, I wasn't even showing you. Ugh, the references. I'm sorry. You're just staring at my mug the whole time. Yeah, so they do have a big appendix at the end of the chapter. Really cool. So check that out. That's about it, guys. I'm hyper scrolling to the top to get back to the title. There it is. The Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control. Check it out online. I'm glad that you followed me on this fun journey tonight of exploration. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. Thank you to BN. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you again to Vast Twilight for the super chat, buddy. Enjoyed it. We are all musicians at the podcast and have friends that play on Broadway as well. We get it. It's a kick in the head for the arts to be affected again. It really is, man. I'm glad you can relate. And yeah, again, like, I'm just a bartender on Broadway, but it does affect me. It's my livelihood, and the fact that we are now closed again, it sucks. The shows are still happening, but my job personally as a bartender is non-existent. So it sucks. I feel kind of like the kid left out in gym class while the rest get to go play and have fun. I'm stuck here, but there's nothing I would rather be doing if I'm not working than talking about UFOs. So this was You guys, you really helped me tonight. You're making me feel like it's all worth it, and that we can have really fun discussions about stuff like this. Again, this isn't going to change anything. It's not going to change anyone's minds on UFOs. It's been talked about before. It is not a revelation, but I just discovered it, so it's a revelation for me. So let me live it. Let you out there who didn't know about it live it. Shane, who brought this to my attention, let him live it, and just have fun. Have fun with this topic. While this is serious about emergencies and hazards and stuff like that, like, take some solace in knowing that this is crazy. There's manuals and textbooks out there having to do with UFOs. I believe it's the University of Michigan who is putting a UFO course online within the next couple weeks. Go to my Twitter account at Somewhere Skies. I do have a link to the course. You can watch the online version of it. It's one of my last few tweets. So go to at Somewhere Skies on Twitter. Follow us there for the podcast. And yeah, go University of Michigan. We are seeing UFO courses pop up in universities all over the country and presumably the world as well, not just the United States. So yeah, I look forward to more UFO courses being taught in school as well, in every way, shape, and form. Thanks, Ryan. Love the live stream. Would love to see more of them. I'm gonna try. I got the time. If I can do it, I'm gonna do it. It's obvious you guys dig it with our amount of views and everything. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time out of your night to listen to me babble on about this stuff. And I love having you involved. So if any of you want to become moderators, please reach out to me. If you want to hop on the show and talk about this stuff with me, I'm always willing to do that. You can contact me through the website to set something up like that. Just go to somewhereintheskies.com and go to the contact tab, and don't be afraid to reach out to me. That goes for if you've had a UFO sighting as well. If you want to be featured on an upcoming Witness Accounts episode of the show, where I literally have you come on and talk about your UFO sightings in your own words, I'm not there. It's just you recording it, sending it to me, and I play it with others as well. You can use your name or you don't have to. It's a chance for you to get it off your chest and talk about it with people who understand what you've been through and like hearing about this stuff. The more people who talk about it, the more normal it becomes. And we're living in an age where this topic is being accepted more than ever before. So feel fortunate that we're living in a time now where we can talk about UFOs for an hour and a half. And most people aren't laughing about it. We've come a long way. We truly, truly have. So I appreciate everyone who is in this journey with me to try to find the truth about UFOs. None of us are experts. None of us truly know what's going on. And those who say they do know what's going on, those aren't the people you want to be listening to. This is a constant journey of learning. The phenomena seems to always be 2 steps ahead of us, but maybe one day it'll be 1 step, and then maybe we will be in step with it soon. I can't tell you, but if it doesn't happen in my lifetime, I hope it happens to my kids for sure. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I'm with you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. BN says it's an amazing to have a normal discussion on it. It truly is. So with that, guys, check out Ancient Aliens tomorrow night, Friday at 9 p.m. on the History Channel. I will be featured in that episode. And other than that, you can catch the podcast every Monday, wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel right here and turn on notifications. You'll be the first to know when new videos come out. Like the video, share it, and that's all I can ask of you. So from me to you, have a wonderful, wonderful night. Have a good weekend to all of you out there. And I will leave you, as always, with our motto here at Somewhere in the Skies. But before I do that, it looks like we have someone new here. Right ahead. Hey, Ryan, this is the first time catching you live. I love your work. Hopefully you get back on Broadway soon. Thank you. I truly, truly appreciate that. I really do. Tim F., good stream. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for being here, brother. You're always here to support. And I really, really appreciate that. Morkavi Studio, all of you in the chat. Nick Rossler, Cosmic Kev, Ethereal Aura, Tommy, Tukas. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I do apologize. BN, Who else do we have? Fun Size Phil, Nick, Nick, Nat is here as well. Thank you guys. Thank you to everyone. I could say names all night. I really could. I really appreciate all the support. So if you want to further support Somewhere in the Skies, you can leave a super chat or a super sticker on your way out, or you can join the Patreon campaign for a ton of bonus content. That's just patreon.com/somewhere skies. And that's it, guys. I'm going to say good night after I've said that 10 times already. Thank you for joining me tonight. And as always, keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching somewhere in the skies.
This is Somewhere in the Skies with Ryan Sprague.